Well, God bless you. This is Bishop Dennis Martin, and I wanted to share something very special with you today. I'm so grateful to God for what He has done. And you heard the song, I don't know how you do it, but you keep on making a way. 1976, the Lord called me into ministry as a young man. I was 15 years old, and recently I celebrated my 65th birthday. And here we are in 2026, 50 years of ministry. I've been in ministry 50 years. Doesn't seem that long, but as I heard one of my late friends say, 50 years is a long time to do anything. I've seen many come, I've seen many go, but thank God that He's allowed me to still be here 50 years later, still doing ministry and the work of the Lord. And during that time of 50 years, I've met some incredible people. I've met some anointed men and women of God. I've met some people that have prayed for me, those that have shared with me, those that have supported me in this 50 years. And I'm grateful to God for each and every one of you, every pastor, everyone that has allowed me to share in ministry at your church as an evangelist, even before I start pastoring. What a blessing it is, and what a blessing it was. And I'm so grateful to God for you. I never want to take for granted those that God has allowed to touch my life and allowed me to touch their lives, and what a blessing it is. So today, for just a few minutes, I want to share with you 12 individuals that I've picked out that have made an impact upon my life in these 50 years. I'll share short stories of things that happened in their impact of my life, and I know it'll be a blessing to you. These persons I'm going to share with you today will be my late uncle, Evangelist Gene Martin, my late pastor, Bishop M.J. Pace, Bishop Richard, Mr. Clean White, the late presiding Bishop Chandler David Owens, the late presiding Bishop G.E. Patterson, my current bishop, Bishop Norman Harper, the late Bishop Quincy Lavelle Carswell, Bishop Jerry Macklin, our first assistant presiding bishop, Church of God in Christ, our current presiding bishop, Bishop J. Drew Sheard, the late Apostle Richard D. Hinton, and the late Bishop Ronald Brown, the late Bishop Derek W. Hutchins. I'm going to be sharing about these men that have made impact upon my life, and even the order they're in does not specify or signify whether one is more important than the other. All of them made a impact upon my life in these 50 years. And I am grateful to God for each and every one of them. The first one that made an impact certainly is my uncle, Evangelist Gene Martin. What can I say? He made an impact, first of all, because he's my uncle. Then he raised me along with my grandmother. They raised me in the house. And when he traveled with the late A.A. Allen, when he would come and leave, oh my God, they would have to almost take me out. I would just cry and cry. And then as I got older and started ministering, he took us with him to Miami and allowed us to exercise our gift when we first started ministering and preaching. And then in 1979, he invited me to join the Gene Martin Action Revival team. And I started traveled with him for 7 years full time as an evangelist, doing all type of things. He allowed me to exercise my gift, my ministry, shared his platform with me when people came to hear him. He would put me up to preach and various things, and what an impact he had upon my life. And he will always be my mentor, my hero. He shared with me things, encouraged me. He was my greatest supporter as a young man in ministry, and shared so many valuable things with me. And I love him and appreciate him today. And as long as I live, his memory will never die among me and people and others because of the impact that he made upon my life, my late uncle, Evangelist Gene Martin. Well, the next person that made an impact upon my life is my late brother, Bishop M.J. Pace. I'm married to his sister, June. We just celebrated 46 years of marriage, well, ministry too, but marriage. And he took me to my first UNAC in Cleveland, Ohio, and also the various things. And he is the reason that I am in the Church of God in Christ today. He's responsible for that. They were making him a superintendent, and he asked if I would come and help him. And I prayed about it and talked to my pastor at the time, the late Bishop M.D. Spires, and he released me, and I went over and worked with my brother and ended up being the assistant pastor. He would send me out in his stead to different places. When he would leave on Sundays, he would have me preaching. I ended up being his assistant pastor, of course. He introduced me in Memphis, in the convocation, different places where he had control of the service. He would always make sure to put me up to preach. And I'm so grateful to God for him and for his impact that he gave. And during that time of sharing and being his assistant pastor, it helped me to develop and be ready. He trained for a pastoral ministry. And I'm so grateful for the late Bishop M.J. Pace. I will always love him and appreciate him for the things he done for me. Well, the next one is Bishop Mr. Clean, or Bishop Richard Mr. Clean White. I met him through my brother, and in the first UNAC that I went to, and he took me to a back home hour. Didn't know what a back home hour was. Took me there, and Bishop White was in charge of the service, and the young man that drew a picture of John on the island of Patmos writing in the book. And never forget, as they were taking the picture off, Bishop White said to the young man, "Bring that picture back." And he started preaching just on the spur of the moment, "Is your name in the book?" And then the song is born. That was the first one I went to, and he sung "Am I Worth It?" And I got a chance to meet him, and he embraced me as a young preacher. When I went to UNAC in Detroit, he was going to put me up the first night, and the service went, and so he put me up the second night first. You can see that video online, and I preached, and he would send me different places in his stead. When he couldn't do a revival and he couldn't go, he would send me in his place. And he would often say, when I send him, they don't invite me back. That wasn't true, I don't think. But he was such an inspiration. And when you would see him in the meeting, he would always say, "You got money?" And he would reach in his pocket and just give you some money and all those type of things. He's just a tremendous person. He was a blessing to many of young men and young women across the country. He would just do things, and we appreciate him, and we love his impact. I love the impact that he made upon my life. He taught us really how to preach in the national meetings, because he preached in a lot of them, and he would always do a wonderful job in those meetings, and we appreciate Bishop White. I love and appreciate him for his impact and how he treated even our family. Well, the next one here is the late presiding Bishop Chandler David Owens. Well, what can I say about Bishop Owens? Bishop Owens impacted my life, our lives. He was the first one to appoint me here to the Department of Evangelism in the jurisdiction in Central Georgia. I served there at his pleasure. And then he appointed me to Holy Trinity as my first pastoral assignment was his appointment to Holy Trinity, which is now Restoration Revival Church of God in Christ. Bishop Owens appointed me there, came and installed me, appointed me, had me to bring Bishop G.E. Patterson in for 2 days. And what an impact he had upon our lives and sharing. I think all of us tried to mimic him in some type of way. in talking and using those words he would use, those big words, and what an impact he was upon us. And we thank God certainly for the late presiding Bishop Chandler David Owens. All right. The next one, my God, what can I say about the late presiding Bishop G.E. Patterson? I met Bishop Patterson when I was about 12 years old. My uncle brought him to Jones Avenue, which is now Cathedral of Faith, where Bishop Arthur Moses is the pastor. He brought him as Apostle Gilbert Patterson, and he brought his choir. It was the winter camp meeting, and he preached, "Mr. Chairman, I nominate Jesus." Well, I met him, and then when I was traveling with my uncle in 76, when I first started preaching, I met him then. I was 15. And then I got a chance to be reacquainted with him through my bishop, the late Bishop J.D. Husband. Bishop Patterson was preaching for our meeting, and Bishop Husband, excuse me, said, "Bishop Patterson, this is Dennis Martin." Said, "I want you to have him in your church. He ain't got a lot of rags and tags behind his name." And Bishop Patterson, I was down preaching for Bishop Albert Pass in Holly Springs, Mississippi. We went down to Memphis, stopped by Temple of Deliverance, and Bishop Patterson said, "You preaching for me Sunday morning." Never forget that Sunday morning, 8 a.m., I think 8 a.m. service. We were on our way up. It was the first Sunday, Communion Sunday. I was an evangelist. He says, "I know it's Communion Sunday, but you ain't got to preach a communion message." I never forget the message I preached that Sunday morning was, "Tell the devil I changed my mind." Bishop Patterson said to me, said, "I will let you preach at 11, but BET is here," and he was getting ready to go on BET. And so he had me to preach that night. And for 17 years, I would preach at Temple of Deliverance. He would bring me in Sunday mornings, revivals, send me in his stead to preach in different places, share information with me. He allowed me every December to come spend 3 days with him, talk to him, pick his brain, and all of those things. We go to eat. And what an impact he had upon my life. And I put him right next to my uncle when it comes to the impact that he had upon my life. He gave me my first appointment in the national church as the first vice president in the Department of Evangelism with Bishop White. And then he made me president of the department in 2005. And what a blessing it was. He will always be one that I will love and appreciate for the impact that he had upon my life, the late presiding Bishop G.E. Patterson. Well, the next one is my current bishop now, Bishop Norman O. Harper. Bishop Harper has always been an encourager, and when he was selected as Bishop of South Central, his first appointment was he appointed me as administrative assistant, and which was somewhat shocking, I guess, to people because I was not a superintendent, but he made me administrative assistant, and I'm still not a superintendent, but he made me an administrative assistant and put me over various things. I've been the AIM chair for the jurisdiction. I do the programs, communication, just a whole bunch of stuff that whatever Bishop asks of me, I do. And he has certainly been an inspiration, a blessing to me and my family. And it was because of him in 2024 that he sent a letter of recommendation to the presiding bishop of the Church of God in Christ. And because of that, I was appointed and ratified and consecrated January 13th, 2025 in Louisville, Kentucky, because Bishop Harper recommended me to be a bishop, an auxiliary bishop in the Church of God in Christ. And to that, I want to say thank you, Bishop. I always will appreciate you. I'm eternally grateful for your recommendation. And so he has certainly been an impact I had impact upon my ministry and life in these 50 years. All right. The next one is the late Bishop Quincy Lavelle Carswell. What can I say about Bishop Carswell? His family, his father, his mother, his sisters. We stayed at his parents' house in Rhode Island. They used to follow us around in New York, Connecticut. They would come to all our revivals when I was with my uncle. And when I got reacquainted with Bishop Coswell, he sort of took me under his wings as his little brother and would share. Sometimes he would call and we would talk 2 or 3 hours about ministry to grandkids. And he would call and leave messages. And he would call and leave a message, say, Dennis, this is Quincy, call me back. And we had that type of relationship. We didn't go by titles. And so he just was an impactful person. When I was celebrating 40 years of ministry, I was not intending on having anything. He saw it online and called me and said, I understand that you're celebrating 40 years of ministry. I said, yes, sir. He said, well, what are you having? I said, nothing. He said, yes, you are too. He said, we ain't going to let 40 years go by. And he said, you're going to have it at Covenant. And he did just that. And what a blessing it was. I really thank God for Bishop Coswell. I really miss him. What an inspiration he was in ministry and sharing. And anytime I wanted something, needed something, or wanted him to do something, he was always available to do it. And I certainly do miss him. And I thank God for his impact upon my life in ministry. All right. The next one is our first assistant presiding bishop, Bishop Jerry W. Macklin. I worked with him when he was the AIM chair, and I was the vice president of the Department of Evangelism. But Bishop Macklin would call and say, we need this done, I need that done, and share various things, and would go and minister. He allowed me to preside over a service in Los Angeles in the AIM. Never forget it. On the night that the presiding bishop was speaking, he had me to preside over the service, and I was like, wow. And then he invited me, gave me the calendar, said, make these dates work for me, brought me to Hayward, California, to Glad Tidings. My first time there. I ministered Sunday morning, Sunday evening, Monday, Tuesday. The lady evangelist Joyce Rogers was scheduled to be there, and some got tied up with her schedule, and he had me to stay over the whole week. Friday night he got up, had me to stand up, and said, I haven't done this but one time in 30 years, but tonight I'm making this evangelist an honorary member of Glad Tidings Church of God in Christ. And what an impact he has made, shared materials with me. And when I would need some guidance on certain things, I could call him and he would share with me. And some things he shared probably has helped me to not make wrong decisions, but make right decisions and clear decisions. And so I thank God for our first assistant presiding bishop, Bishop Jerry W. Macklin. All right. The next one, of course, is our current presiding bishop. I met him through my late brother when he brought him in to minister. I met him 29 years ago. I just started pastoring. He came in to minister for my brother. And when he came in, I got a chance to meet him. We went to AIM or UNAC, I think it was, in Detroit. And he just got appointed to the church, not the building that he has, but the church. And I think Bishop Williams was his bishop. He appointed him to a church, and he invited me to be the speaker that Sunday morning at that church while we were there in the meeting. And I spoke for him that Sunday morning and then worked with him in the AIM convention. I was the president of evangelism. He was the chairman. We worked together, and our families have always been together. And I want to thank God for the impact he's made because of his decision to take the letter of recommendation from my bishop and to present it to the general board, and then not only present it to them, but also to they appointed me, and then the General Assembly ratified it. And of course, again, January 13th, 2025 in Louisville, Kentucky, I was consecrated to the office of bishop with the Episcopal designation of auxiliary. And I tell you, he laid hands on me put the cross around my neck. And I'm grateful for Bishop Sheard. Will always eternally be grateful for his decision and for him doing what he said he would do. I'll give you a little story about that. I had a dream that I was saw him in the convention, and in the dream, when I went to speak to him, he said, "I got you, I got you," and I just thought it was a dream. I know the Lord deals with me in dreams, but when I saw him in St. Louis at the AIM convention, when I went to speak to him, he said, "Hey, man," and the first thing out of his mouth was, "I got you, I got you." God was giving me confirmation, and so I'm always eternally grateful for our presiding bishop, Bishop J. Drew Sheard. The next one is Pastor Apostle Richard D. Hinton. Oh my God, what an impact Pastor Hinton has made upon my life as a young preacher. Of course, I wasn't pastoring. He was scheduled to come and be with us in a meeting my uncle was having, and he couldn't make it. But a young brother named Daniel Johnson brought a tape, a cassette tape, so that tells you how long ago that was, of Apostle Hinton preaching for a Christmas service, and he preached, "He came, he came." And I tell you, after I heard him preach, Bishop M.D. Spires had him for 3 nights at Church of Atlanta. I told my teacher I can't be at school. I was doing night school. Told her I can't be at school. She said, "Well," I said, "I got to go to this revival." I was there on the front row taking it all in. We had some people that we would stay with in Chicago. They were members of his church, and they would send us cassette tapes and everything of him. I got so many cassette tapes of Pastor Hinton, and what a blessing it was. I got a chance to pick him up at the airport and take him to the hotel and stuff, and just a great inspiration. You talking about a preacher's preacher, and I tell you, he was certainly a blessing. And I had never really heard anyone like that before. I've heard others that sound like him since then, but he was one of a kind when it came to preaching, and we certainly thank God for the impact that he made. Well, let's see. The next one is the late Bishop Ronald Brown, Orangeburg, South Carolina. I remember meeting Bishop Brown through my late uncle, and he brought him to Greensboro, North Carolina, to the Powerhouse of Deliverance Church, pastored by the late Bishop J.H. Covington. And Bishop Brown preached. I was probably 16, 17 years old, and he had an altar call. I'll never forget the message he preached that night. "If God don't help us, we're done for." Never forget that word. Never forget that message. And then he preached 46 years ago. He preached, the reason I remember it's 46 years ago, because it was when I got married, and he preached from the subject alienation of affection. And then not only did he preach that, but I remember him preaching, "He gave me nothing to lose, but all to gain." And what an impact he made upon my life in ministry, biblically, and in the Word, and making you to study the Word and be a student of the Word, and not just throwing stuff out because you heard it and because it sounded good. And that was the impact that he made. One thing that he did and said to me that I never forgot, and it has helped me to this day. He said to me one time as a young preacher, he said, "I want you to pray for longevity." And I said, "Okay." He said, "Your uncle has longevity. He's still standing, and others are off the scene." He said, "I want you to pray that God will give you longevity in ministry." He said, "You want to be still standing when others have come and gone." And I took that and prayed that prayer. And here I am, 50 years later, with longevity. God has blessed me. All the story hasn't been told. I could tell you a whole bunch of things. I've sat in places that I don't even talk about, met people that I don't even talk about, been on platforms, and before social media, before you know everybody know what you're doing, I preached in conferences and all type of things, and not only to a few, but preached to thousands and those things. When I go back to Bishop G.E. Patterson, he was the first one to put me on national TV on the Bountiful Blessings broadcast. And so these people have made an impact, and certainly Bishop Brown made an impact when it came to preaching upon my life. All right. And then last but by no means least is the late Bishop Derek W. Hutchins. I met him through my brother-in-law and heard him preach. And my brother would bring him to minister at our church. And I never forget, I had ministered in a national meeting in one of those platform services. And I had called Pastor Hutchins because I wanted, as an evangelist, to go preach for him. And he said something to me that I always respected him for. He says, I would love to have you to come. He said, well, let's set up something where you can come. Let me first see if your ministry will fit in with my church. And I thought that was really powerful, because most people, they just give you the runaround. And he could have said, well, call me back later or whatever, but that's not what he said. And my brother-in-law was preaching for him in Chattanooga. And when he got through ministering, Pastor Hutchins gave me the mic and said, go minister. And I did that. I went and ministered. And when I went to minister there, he said to me, meet me in Columbia Sunday morning. And I went to preach for him, and the rest is history. I would preach for him all the time. He would send me to his churches and places to minister and give advice. One time when I was probably at a low point in ministry and thinking about making a move on something, it was Bishop Hutchins that said to me, you don't want to do that. And he talked to me and gave me sound advice. And because of that, I settled myself. And so what an impact he was. And then we know he was definitely a preacher. And I think all of us would look at him and watch that historical message he did, I Am Deadened, where he closed talking about $3. We still watch that today. What a powerful person he was, and what an impactful man of God he was for all of us. And we certainly thank God for him. Well, I'm done. I wanted to just share with you those that have been impactful in these last 50 years in my life. One other person that I've got to add on this, on the 13th of January 2025, the speaker for the consecration service was Bishop Felton Smith from Chattanooga, Tennessee, or Nashville, where I think he's in Nashville now. But I wanted to mention him because I knew Bishop Smith, or he knew me before I start preaching. That's how long we go back. We go back. My uncle used to go and run revivals for him and different things. And the first place I preached when I first started traveling with my uncle, the first place I preached was Bishop Smith's church in Chattanooga. He invited me to preach that Sunday morning. I got pictures of that, me preaching at his church. And so I'm grateful for all these men that have made an impact upon my life. I want to say to every pastor, thank you. Those that have invited me, those that have allowed me to share in your church, at your ministries, those that have allowed me to come and preach in your conferences, your workers' meeting, your convocations, wherever it may have been. Thank you so much. I just appreciate all of you that have been there, those that have supported, those that have always prayed, and then those that, when this consecration came about, you were there, even with finances to help. And I really appreciate each and every one of you. This 50-year journey, the story hasn't been told, but I'm so grateful to God that I'm still here, and it's by the grace of God. Grateful that I'm still ministering. Grateful that God has allowed me to do it. 50 years, and 47 of those have been full-time. And I tell you, nobody but God could do it. Nobody but God could keep me alive in the travel and in the different things on and off planes and everything. It had to be God. And so here I am 50 years later, giving praise and honor to God. Not anything that I've done, but I give him all the honor and all the praise for what he has allowed to happen in these 50 years. I don't know. I don't think I got 50 more, but I'm grateful for what he's allowed me to do, grateful for the lives that have impacted me, and grateful for those that I get testimonies from that the ministry has impacted their life, and I'm so grateful to God that he has done it. I pray that you would continue to pray for me, continue to hold me up, continue to lift me up, and I believe if you pray for me, that God's going to do great things for me. Once again, I love all of you. I appreciate all of you, and I want to thank you so much for being a part of my 50-year journey. May God bless you, and may all God's choice blessings be yours.
Congratulations, Bishop Dennis Martin, on your 50 years in ministry. We want to thank you for the impact you have made in the lives of God's people and for the many souls who have been saved through your ministry. May you continue to be dedicated, determined, and dependable in the work of the Lord.